our struggle since the 60s, you will see nothing but betrayals by the petty bourgeois elements in our society. The African bourgeoisie is the most corrupt bourgeoisie in the world. In Africa, they seek luxury in the midst of mass suffering.
For what is what, I ain't trying to round my luck this game up. I ain't trying to show skills to the brother speed up. Emotions got me feeling like one time, like a fade up.
What up, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala.
All this talk of illegal migration in Europe, in the United States, it ultimately comes down to a contest of what is governance. Who is governed? Which countries are governed well? And if so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, then it's time for us to just put the imperial hat back on to say, we're going to govern those countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough. We're done being invaded.
Because our own national security risk is at stake.
Exactly.
National security interests are at stake.
You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris instead of actually making their country better.
People on the left are going to watch this. They're going to say, wait a minute, Erik Prince is talking about being a colonialist again.
Absolutely. Yes. Enough. The countries that cannot fix themselves, particularly in Africa, the worst, it's time to think about other governance options because they are clearly not capable of self-governance.
What up, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala. We just heard from a guy named Erik Prince. Erik Prince is an American businessman, a former U.S. Naval SEAL, a high military guy. He also founded a popular military or weapon manufacturing company called Blackwater. He has a lot of interest in Africa. He once was involved with the conflict in Libya, where one of his private companies was responsible for supplying some helicopters, some weapons that were used to decimate Libya, basically. He also partnered with Russia's Wagner Group at some point in Zimbabwe to, operate as far as military operations were concerned. He also invested in South Sudan at some point, in a diesel refinery. There were some issues with that project because the former president of South Sudan, this was in 2014, ended up canceling that contract, and Prince wasn't able to acquire what he expected to get from South Sudan. He also had another issue with Kenya. This guy loves Africa a lot. So that's one thing I can tell you. But to get a full gist about Erik Prince, I recommend you Google search who this individual is and come to your own surmise, your own conclusion. Now, he said two things in this interview.
All this talk of illegal migration in Europe, in the United States, it ultimately comes down to a contest of what is governance. Who is governed? Which countries are governed well? And if so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, then it's time for us to just put the imperial hat back on to say, we're going to govern those countries if you're incapable of governing yourselves, because enough is enough. We're done being invaded.
Because our own national security risk is at stake.
Exactly.
National security interests are at stake.
You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves and benefiting their citizens because the governments there are all about looting and pillaging and lining their pockets and going shopping in Paris instead of actually making their country.
Hold on.
Now, this type of conversation would naturally get you enraged because you can't imagine the guts behind an individual from America talking about he's coming to recolonize Africa after all what we have been through and we are still going through. Shout out to my sister, love, justice, and peace. Thank you so much, my beautiful queen. She's back in the building. This man is aware that most African countries had fake independence and the European colonizers have remained in control. This is an excuse to openly colonize Africa like in the past. I agree with you. There is no excuse for a 60 something, 50 something year old man not to understand the history of his country and the role that he played in different parts of the world. This guy is not going to pretend like he did not know that the United States government uses the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, to cause all types of chaos all over Africa and different parts of the world. I mean, we had CIA officials that confessed on their deathbeds how they were sent to Congo to kill Patrice Lumumba. We've heard about how top FBI, CIA agents are sent to countries in Africa, Tanzania, when they were trying to remove puppets that were in control of their country. And then those puppets were, the CIA ended up causing trouble and chaos in the political space so that the puppets that work for the American government can be in control of that country. And I'm going to say one more. In Nigeria, recently a fake election took place. Tinubu got into power. I mean, Tinubu was literally a drug dealer in the United States of America. And the entire world knows about this. This guy was in the courts. He had to forfeit money. I'm not going to go into the details. But then somehow, some way, after Tinubu rigged the elections and became the president, the United States of America and France welcomed him with open hands. Listen, man, these types of Western countries and these types of arrogant individuals, they know exactly what they are doing. They would never allow unscrupulous characters like Tinubu or the guy from Congo, Mobutu Sese Seko. They would never allow such characters to have any political positions in their countries, but they prefer those types of leaders in African countries. And that's why Africa has remained how it is. But let's also keep it real here. Mr. Erik Prince, he doesn't even deserve to be called Mr. He's a piece of shit, okay? Erik Prince, he talked about African leaders. They don't have the ability to govern themselves. They often want to steal money and go shopping in Paris. That's also the truth. This guy just told the truth. Even though he's an arrogant, pretending to be ignorant individual, he still told the truth. Because most of these African politicians, let's keep it real, the leaders, he's talking about, we do not want immigration in the United States. It has become an invasion, especially from people from Africa. They are invading the United States illegally because their countries are not run well, because they have corrupt leaders that go shopping in France. So if that's the case, if all you're fighting for is to protect mass immigration to the United States by African people, and you feel like the solution is to go and recolonize Africa, how about you maybe work towards severing the ties, severing that connection between your government and African governments that maintains the support of criminals in African political spaces? Why is the United States, why did Joe Biden in 2022 December invite Buhari and a bunch of other corrupt African politicians, Paul Biya? Paul Biya was literally sleeping in the US Africa Summit, December 2022. Why was Joe Biden taking photos with such unscrupulous individuals if he wasn't on the same page as them? American governments, they love what is currently going on in many African countries, where the African countries are ruled by corrupt criminal politicians that keep us in a perpetual state of disarray. That's exactly what these guys want. And this Erik Prince, he's very popular and very, very dangerous. You need to pay attention to this part. Remember, this guy is a war guy. He's a warmonger. What he does in his life is to invest in weapons to destroy people and destroy the world. Now, he's also a supporter of Donald Trump. And what's that party called? The Republican Party in the United States. In the next elections, more than likely, the Democrats, whom are also a bunch of clowns to me, both Democrats and Republicans, as far as I'm concerned, an African person, I don't give a damn about them. They are both against me. If the conservatives, or rather the Republicans, get into power in the elections November 2024 and Donald Trump is the president, this dangerous potential terrorist, Erik Prince, will be in the ears of Donald Trump. And we know Donald Trump already called Africa shithole countries. Let's keep it real here. You know, me, I try to be emotionally intelligent. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not from a shithole country. Nigeria is a shithole country. Okay. Donald Trump didn't tell a lie. Does that mean that I like Donald Trump? Absolutely not. But he told no lies. Erik Prince said, our African politicians, they love going to shop in Paris. Did he tell a lie? Absolutely not. Does that mean that I like Erik Prince? Absolutely not. He told the truth. Okay. But at the same time, he can't pretend to be this ignorant at this age with that amount of money and influence. You can't be that ignorant. You're just a pretender. I'm not going to call you a racist because it doesn't even change anything. If you're a racist or not, it doesn't even matter to me. But the fact that powerful people from Western countries still have these types of mindsets, man, we need to stay on our toes. And most importantly, the part where he talked about our criminal politicians and how they love going to shop in Paris, like Tinubu, the current president of Nigeria, he has been to Paris like 3-4 times since he got into power like 8 months ago. So within an 8-month period, Tinubu has been to Paris for private visits, to visit Macron, for medical reasons. Bro, these guys literally go shopping in Paris. They don't have the capacity to fix any African countries. He's not telling a lie. But at the same time, he's a piece of shit. So that's all what this live stream, this what's it called now? This reaction video is about. We need to understand that we cannot be emotional in reacting to stuff like this. You can't be pretending that you do not know that there are racists in the world that don't care about African people. You can't be pretending at this day and time. In 2024, if you are an adult and you still don't know that African people are subject to all types of discrimination and disrespect all over the world, then I don't know what to tell you. You better wake up. That's how a lot of people perceive us. Okay. Now that we have even powerful people that perceive us this way, and they are openly saying it out there, we are going to recolonize Africa. What do you think about that? My beautiful sister says the CIA is reported to have assassinated Muritala Mohammed because he flirted with approaching Russia. Erik Prince is a would-be colonialist, period. That's exactly what he is. And he has a lot of money and resources that makes him more dangerous. But this is not even me trying to go after Erik Prince. I don't even have the resources. But if we as a collective of African people can be mentally aware that, listen, these criminals, these collaborators in our countries, our politicians, because they collaborate with the Western governments and these types of colonialists, we have to do something to get rid of these criminals in our society. Stop supporting these guys. Stop being easily manipulated. We absolutely have to stop this. The only way that colonization can thrive is if the collaboration between the imperialist governments and their partners in Africa, our politicians, if that partnership can thrive, then colonization will continue. Because trust me, man, these African politicians are never going to stop. They will continue going to shop in Paris until we, the African people, force them to stop. Point blank, period. And then when that happens, maybe we're going to start having some respect around the world. But that's all I have to say on this quick episode. It was just a quick live stream. I have to sign out right away. Thank you so much. Love, justice, and peace. I'm so happy to see you in the comment section. As for the comment about African leaders going to shop in Paris, that is exactly what our European colonizers want. They do not want any African leaders that will do Africa any good. Absolutely. And thank you for bringing up that point. Before I wrap up this live stream, there is one quick, I'll show you something that the former president of France said. Listen, my own fight, as far as I'm concerned, I focus more on the African criminal politicians, okay? they are the ones that are a threat to my life directly. These imperialists, they are a secondary threat to my life, not a direct threat, although the amount of threats that they pose onto my life is huge. But the primary threats, the African politicians, they are the ones that I can really do something about, okay, at this point. And that's why I'm just constantly focusing on these guys. So now we have the former president of France. He goes by the name Jacques Chirac, whatever his name is. This guy said, "We bled Africa for 4.5 centuries. We looted their raw materials. We told lies that Africans are good for nothing. In the name of religion, we destroyed their culture. And after being made rich at their expense, we now steal their brains through miseducation and propaganda to prevent them from enacting African retribution against us." These are the words of a former French president. This guy, Jacques Chirac. You think about it. They know exactly what's going on. Erik Prince is just intentionally, arrogantly ignorant. And we have a lot of work to do to protect ourselves. Okay. In my opinion, we have to go after our African leaders first so that we can cut off that supply chain where the Western governments, the imperialist Western governments, including China and Russia, I don't give a damn, they wouldn't have people to collaborate with in Africa that would keep us at the bottom of the food chain. Thank you for joining me on the African Wahala. I'm signing out. Love, justice, and peace. Thank you so much, my good sister. See you soon.